Well, we're back right here on Hella Kuwait, and I hope everyone out there is having a great evening, wherever you may be tuning in tonight. Right now, we have with us our first guest by phone call. We have with us His Excellency, Mr. Miguel Angel Isidro, who is the Ambassador of Mexico to the state of Kuwait. Good evening, Your Excellency.
Hello, good evening, Tarek. It's good to hear you.
Nice to be with you this evening. I know you have a busy schedule. We appreciate your time with us tonight right here on Hella Kuwait.
I am grateful for the opportunity, Tarek.
Mr. Ambassador, could you please tell us about this year's campaign, which is being held for violence against women, please?
Yes, of course. Around the world, the 25th of each month marks Orange Day, a day to act, raise awareness, and prevent violence against women and girls. Orange Day seeks to mobilize public opinion and governments to take concrete actions to promote and foster a culture of non-violence against women. This day is part of a great campaign called Unite Orange Campaign, launched in 2008 by the Secretary General of the United Nations in order to take concrete actions to promote and foster a culture of non-violence. The health emergency due to COVID-19 unfortunately has highlighted the structural inequalities and differentiated impacts on the lives of women and girls, which is why it is vital to put them at the center of the response.
Very well said, Your Excellency. So this year, what is this year's theme? It's called Orange the World, Fund, Respond, Prevent, and Collect. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, it's a good question, Tarek. According to the United Nations, the choice of orange responds to the fact that this is the color that represents the bright and optimistic future free of violence against women and girls. The United Nations Secretary General united by 2030 to end violence against women campaign is marking the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence from 25th November to 10th December 2020 under the global theme Orange the World Fund, Respond, Prevent, Collect. United Nations Women's Generation Equality Campaign is amplifying the call for global action to bridge funding gaps, ensure essential services for survivors of violence during this COVID-19 crisis, focus on prevention and collection of data that can improve life-saving services for women and girls. The campaign is part of United Nations Women's efforts for building up to launch bold new actions and commitments to end violence against women at the Generation Equality Forum. This forum will take place in Mexico and France in 2021.
Mr. Ambassador, could you tell us more about the role of the Mexican Embassy in this campaign and its collaboration with the UN right here in the state of Kuwait, please?
Yes, Tarek. It should be noted that since 2020, our country adopted a feminist foreign policy announced by the Mexican Minister for Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Marcelo Ebrard Casobon, at the 74th General Assembly of the United Nations. In line with Mexico's feminist foreign policy, advancing this agenda will be a priority issue during its membership on the Security Council for the period 2021-2022, promoting greater participation of women at the negotiation and decision-making processes. Likewise, Mexico will promote and increase the number of female personnel in UN peace operations and maintain an active participation at both the Group of Friends and the Focal Points Network for Women, Peace and Security. In this context, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Mexico has called on all Mexican representations abroad to actively join in all activities related to this commemoration, as well as to encourage the mainstreaming of the perspective in their work and the message of zero tolerance for behaviors of gender violence against women who work in each of the embassies, consulates, and diplomatic representations of Mexican in the world. Likewise, Mexico has obligations regarding the human rights of women and girls, which it signed through international treaties such as the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women and the Inter-American Convention Prevent, Punish, and Eradicate Violence Against Women. Therefore, it is an obligation of the Mexican state to promote environments free of violence for women and girls. Finally, I would like to remark that on November 9, Dr. Leticia Bonifaz Alonso from Mexico was elected as a member of the Committee for the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women for the period 2021-2024.
That's great news and good to hear that. Go ahead.
Just wanted to express again our gratitude to the Kuwaiti government for the support to this candidacy.
Well, that's great news. And Mr. Ambassador, as a result, of the world retreating inside their homes during the lockdown measures of COVID-19, the pandemic, recent reports have showed an increase in violence against women. How would you comment on this gender crisis against women, please?
It is an issue of the utmost importance, Tarek. Unfortunately, gender-based violence against women and girls has had a significant increase during the global health due to COVID-19, showing that this is a structural problem that needs emerging measures, but also comprehensive prevention and awareness measures. The United Nations have made it clear that this year is like no other. Even before COVID-19, violence against women and girls had reached pandemic proportions. Just to give you an example, globally, around 243 million women and girls were abused by an intimate partner in the last year. And meanwhile, less than 40% of women who experience violence report it or seek help. It is important to mention that when we talk about violence against women, we are not only talking about physical measures. We are talking also about emotionally or
mental abuse too.
Mental abuse and language abuse against women. As countries implemented lockdowns, measures to stop the spread of the coronavirus, violence against women, especially domestic violence, has intensified in various countries, and that's why it is really important that governments should work together to eradicate this.
It's really very sad, and it's so nice to see the Mexican government as well as the Mexican embassy right here in the state of Kuwait taking a keen role and action in this front. And Mr. Ambassador, how can we increase social awareness towards the case of violence against women, in your opinion, please?
Yes, Tarek. In accordance with our feminist foreign policy, Mexico reaffirms its commitment with the gender equality, human rights of women and girls, and the eradication of all forms of discrimination against gender-based violence. It is important to achieve effective coordination between local governments, government agencies, civil society organizations, private sector, and society in general to join this strategy, since we are clearly convinced that we are all part of the solution and that with solidarity and synergy, we can contribute to eliminate violence against women and girls. I must reiterate that the main objective is to raise awareness among the population and build an environment free of violence. We must take advantage of this campaign to join forces and put an end to violence against women and girls, not only on the 25th of each month, but every day, thus contributing to build a world free of acts of violence, discrimination, and inequality towards women and girls.
And you touched on it earlier, Mr. Ambassador, that Mexico's role will be coming up in the forum. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yes. Well, the Generation Equality Forum is a global meeting in favor of gender equality, convened by United Women and United Nations Women and co-chaired jointly by the governments of Mexico and France.
Great. With
the leadership and the participation of the civil society. The forum will open in Mexico City next year from March 29 to 31st, 2021, and will conclude in Paris, France, on dates yet to be determined. The forum presents the opportunity to accelerate the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action, which constitutes the most comprehensive roadmap to achieve gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls in the coming years, in compliance with the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. Also, the forum will reaffirm the value of multilateralism and call the leadership and commitment from various stakeholders, let's say civil society, governments, academia, international bodies, community groups, businesses, cities, parliaments, trade unions, etc., with an emphasis on intergenerational and multi-stakeholder partnerships. Under the leadership of civil society and the participation of multiple actors, including the private sector, we think that the forum can achieve can have a big role toward this purpose. The forum also, as I mentioned before, is part of the feminist foreign policy of the Mexican government. And Mexico is doing a great effort toward gender equality, and 25 years after the adoption of the Beijing Platform Action.
Well, that's great to hear, Mr. Ambassador. And at the end of our interview this evening, do you have any last words or comments for the audience watching Hela Kuwait tonight?
Well, I am really happy to talk with your with the audience. You have a great program. I heard yesterday the interview that you held with Her Excellency, the Ambassador of France, about this topic. And I think I agree with her that we have to continue working together toward eliminating any type of violence against women and girls.
Very well said, Mr. Ambassador, and we thank you very much for your time with us this evening right here on Hela Kuwait. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tarek, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice evening. We were speaking to His Excellency, Mr. Miguel Angel Isidro, the Ambassador of Mexico to the state of Kuwait. We thank him very much for his time with us right here on the program. Right now, let's move on to another one of our reports and take a look at the home care for suspected and mild cases of COVID-19. Stay tuned.